Good evening and welcome to the South Burlington Development Review Board for Tuesday night, June 16th, 2026. My name is Dawn Philibert. I'm the chair of the board and I'd like to welcome you and introduce you to other members of the board. To my far left is Ted Linsky, Mark Baer, Frank Kochman, Jody Lesko, Charlie Johnson, and Quinn Mann. And to my right are our very capable staff, Marla Keene and Alex Levin. This meeting is being recorded. There's a couple of ways to participate in this meeting. One is to attend in person, as the people out in the hall, as this gentleman is, and the people in the hall are soon to be doing. If you are here, it's important that you register your participation in the hearings by signing into the sign-up sheet and contact list up in the back of the room. If you're attending via remotely, please indicate your contact information and register your participation by providing your contact information in the chat box. And if you're attending by phone, please send your contact information to the following email, mkeene@southburlingtonvt.gov. Let me just start by saying this is my last meeting on the board, and certainly as chair, and I just want to acknowledge what a pleasure it's been to work with these great members of the board and also our wonderful staff. We're very lucky in South Burlington to have such competent staff. It's really been a pleasure to work with you all. So
thank you, Dawn.
I wish you all the best in your continued...
Recording in progress.
I tried to make a promise that I would attend every meeting by watching it online every other Tuesday night, but I'm going to guess that's not going to happen. So let's look at the agenda and start with number one, which is the emergency evacuation procedure. In the event of an emergency, there are doors in the back of the auditorium. You would exit one of those doors and either go right or left to get out. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes in the order of agenda items?
No.
Okay. Any announcements?
No.
Maybe,
no additional announcements.
Maybe that Charlie Johnston has been appointed to another term on the DRB by the City Council. Yes?
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we are delighted that he will continue. As a civil engineer, he's been a great contributor to the board's work. Okay, any other announcements? All right. Any comments and questions from the public that are not related to the agenda? Hearing none, let's move on to our first project. First project is site plan application PZ-SITE-2026-16 of 30 Community Drive LLC to amend a previously approved plan for a 275,000 square foot commercial and industrial building consisting of 232,233 square feet of general commercial, 29,300 square feet of consumer-facing commercial, and 13,467 square feet child care facility. The amendment consists of 12,735 square foot of expansion to be used as general commercial at 530 Community Drive. Who is here for the applicant, please? What are your names?
My name's Adam Wood. I'm with Beta.
Hi, Adam.
Nice to meet you.
My name is Lucy Thayer. I'm a landscape architect and senior project manager with Bowman. And we also have quite a few people behind us that we would like to, if not introduce, swear in as
Okay.
well in case they do need to provide testimony.
Okay, sure. Anyone in particular you think will testify? Someone raised his hand. Chris. Chris? Alex, sorry, close.
Chris, though.
Okay.
Alex Gagnon with Beta
Okay.
Technologies.
Good. All right. So all of you who, yes.
Just Chris Huston with Rear Construction.
Okay. Thank you. All of you who might testify, if you could raise your right hand, please. Is there any?
There's a few others. Yeah.
Okay. If you think you're going to testify,
I think
yes.
we can just do names if people do testify. Does that
Okay,
sound all
sure.
right?
That's good. But if you think you might be testifying, if you could raise your right hand. Is anyone online, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. People online who might.
Hang on, I need to figure out who they are and allow them to unmute. I didn't realize. we were-
Colin Johnson is online
Hang
from
on,
Bowman.
Gotta find the right screen now that I'm gonna have to stop sharing because this is not the best.
It's really
Oh,
just an
somebody's got their hand
endurance
up.
exercise.
Hello,
Yeah.
Colin. Okay, you are now allowed to unmute.
Okay. If you could all raise your right hand, please. Do you
Yep.
solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Does anyone have any recusals or, yeah, Mark?
Not recusal, but and I don't foresee it as a conflict of interest. I work in
Disclosure.
Tech Park. I don't
Okay.
see any conflicts and no financial vested interest or
Okay.
anything. Just
Any
a
others?
worker bee.
No? Okay, good. So, welcome. And I don't know if you've ever, Lucy, you've been before us before, so you kind of know the drill. We go through the staff report, which of course you've seen, and issues and questions are highlighted in red. And we go through each one and ask you for your response or comments about each one. And the board will ask you questions until we believe we've reached a point where we have enough information to make a decision down the road. Is there anything you want to say at the beginning?
I have a very brief
Sure.
presentation.
Adam.
It's not a presentation; it would be too formal. But so I
And you're going to need to pull that
Sure,
microphone
yeah.
in and make sure it's on. Is the
Is
green
on.
light on?
yes.
Good.
So I represent Beta Technologies. One of our, biggest company goals, are, if I were to sum our goal up, is to certify an electric composite airplane and manufacture that in South Burlington, Vermont. As we work towards this, our supply chain has become a very critical piece of that. We currently manufacture all the small composite components for our airplane in Williston, Vermont, and Avenue D, and we outsource all the medium and large components. So this facility would bring the capability to manufacture large components in-house with our own folks. We would control that part of the supply chain and mitigate that risk, and also control it and keep it closer to home. We were drawn to this facility because of its close proximity to our existing campus, its presence in an industrial park with an emphasis on technology. We like to think that we are at the cutting edge of electric aviation and composite airplanes. And then also because it's an existing, robust core and shell with all the utilities and supporting infrastructure. So we thought it was a good fit, and we also had a owner that was willing to work with us in fitting this up. This housing this facility will house larger composite curing and manufacturing components or infrastructure and equipment that consists of large autoclaves and ovens and all the tooling to fit that up. We are at the cutting edge of composite manufacturing, and this will be the larger parts, and we would like to showcase this and present it to the public as the cutting edge piece of technology that it is. So the industry standard for composites manufacturing facilities is to house the autoclaves directly adjacent to the building, so only the door of the autoclave is exposed to the interior where the workers are, and the rest of the autoclave would be in a separate space, just because there's different environmental constraints around the autoclave and the people. The autoclave actually has looser constraints. It can be warmer or more humid or whatever. So in doing that, we've separated the intellectual property from the autoclaves, and we thought it was a great opportunity to surround them in glass and showcase the really expensive investment we're making in this really high-end equipment. I think Chris had compared it to a brewery investing in a massive amount of process equipment and then highlighting that with glass between the interior and the exterior. It's a little different than a brewery, but the equipment and the highlighting and showcasing part stands. And then part of that is that we have a nitrogen tank and vaporizer directly adjacent that's integral to that part of the process. So that'll be brand new equipment, replace an existing nitrogen farm, and we view that as part of that integrated high-tech process. So we're going to showcase all that and emphasize the high-end, high-tech work we're doing there. In addition to the composites part of this, we also have a training facility going in here where the technicians who are going to ultimately be assembling the airplanes will be trained and gain the skills as we ramp up production. We also have a harness manufacturing space. It's a smaller space, but we'll manufacture all the electrical harnesses for our airplanes in-house. It's very hands-on, minimal equipment, just hands-on, high-skill work. And then we also have an at-rate machine shop, a metal machine shop where we'll manufacture all our machine parts at full rate to support production. So this facility is critical in us developing our composite strategy, and as we ramp production in South Burlington, this would really enable us to gain those skills. I know there's, we can go through the comments, so I'll turn over the technical pieces of that, but there are obviously concerns around the autoclaves venting. This is an industry standard practice, and I think we have addressed that accordingly. And so we will be your
Okay,
point for this.
let's go. I
Thank
have
you.
one question. My
Yeah.
experience with autoclaves is in high school. I worked as a nurse's aide in an ER, and the autoclave was to sterilize ER equipment. So it was just steam, really, really hot steam.
Yeah.
Do these autoclaves have any chemicals added to them that they
No, that's a good
emit?
question. We just pressurize them with a mixture of air and nitrogen, so it's nitrogen enriched air. Air is predominantly nitrogen. We use that just to decrease the fire risk in the autoclave.
Okay.
Just so that if the composite piece wouldn't be damaged during a high temp event. The autoclaves themselves are very robust, so there's no steam. I think nitrogen is classified as an inert, harmless gas, so we just vent it to the atmosphere afterwards.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Before we get started, does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Let's look at the first comment. There are two questions bulleted for the applicant, and the questions have to do with the atmospheric discharge. The air handling system for the autoclave devices, including the potential for atmosphere discharge and noise. We'd like you to speak to these, and the purpose and potential for atmospheric discharge and noise of the vaporizer and cooler towers.
Right. So I'm going to cover it to start. And then if I need backup from Beta, we have Alex and Adam here to
Okay,
get
good.
into the technical pieces.
Thank you, Lucy.
So like we mentioned, these are critical functions to support the supply chain of the operations in South Burlington. But I think it's important to note that there are no visible emissions or readily detectable odors. So that's not going to be a concern here. In terms of the autoclaves and the noise, I think if I kind of describe a little bit of what the process is, potentially that can help understand what's happening and then what the mitigation is. So the vaporizing stacks are basically silent during normal operation, and the autoclave has a depressurization cycle that lasts for about 10 to 15 minutes per curing cycle, and that runs about twice a day per autoclave. So during that depressurization is when the audible exhaust noise of the pressurized oxygen and nitrogen are released back into the atmosphere at a controlled rate. Like Adam mentioned, they're non-hazardous, they're non-regulated, and they're already actually present in the air. So what Beta is proposing to do is install an industrial muffler on the exhaust at the autoclave to reduce the levels. And essentially what we're trying to do is get the levels down to, they will be within the noise limitations, that 45 to 60 decibels at the property line. And that muffler will help with that. So that's something that we are going to do. And then I think one interesting point for reference is that Beta actually currently operates an autoclave that vents into an occupied workspace at their facility. And when venting, the sound levels from that equipment is low enough that the hearing protection is not required for employees in the area. And Beta, just to note, is very concerned with safety. So that's something they do take seriously.
Done. Can I ask a
Sure.
question?
Mark, go ahead.
When you say the noise levels will be reduced to 45 to 60 at the property line, is that the property line of Tech Park or the subdivision for that building?
So at the Community Drive
Okay.
Property line.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Sure, go ahead, Frank.
on the same general area, which is noise, I'm pretty sure there's a noise standard in the appendix to the regulations. Is that right?
Yep, that's what
What
Lucy
is
was
the-
referencing. The standard is 45 for commercial property lines and, 60 for commercial property lines and 45 for residential property lines.
Regardless of what's on the other side of the property line?
Well, it's 45 for residential and 60 for commercial. So if the adjoining property is residential, it
Then
is
it's 45,
45, yes.
right. And here we have no adjoining residential? Okay.
That's correct.
Go ahead, Ted.
So question on, you're mentioning normal operating conditions, the emergency conditions for the outside nitrogen tank, venting, pressure relief, that could cause a significant noise excursion if there was an upset.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
guess,
can you talk to me, can you explain to me on that, what your,
yeah, we have a few nitrogen tanks and vaporizers in other facilities. So that is true. Yeah, we would anticipate. We haven't had those events at the other facilities, so we would anticipate those being extremely rare, like on the order of magnitude of.
Could you pull your mic in
Oh,
closer so
yeah,
we
we would
can hear you?
anticipate the order of magnitude maybe over a multiple year period, maybe one event for a few minutes.
but the possibility, just manufacturing, the possibility exists, obviously, so there has to be a safety precaution that you have.
Exactly,
Do
yeah.
you have, what do
It's-
you have on these tanks to,
Yeah, the manufacturer and engineering specs relief valves, and so that would be the sound as if the
so when it does relieve, it's going to,
it just vents to the atmosphere, so it would be loud. There would be no hazard to anyone around, but it would be loud in that event.
I want everyone to know if there is an upset outside, it is going to be a noise event. So,
in an emergency situation.
correct.
What are you autoclaving, by the way?
Carbon fiber parts. So
Okay.
we lay up our carbon fiber parts and we put them on a very fancy metal jig or mold, and we put it in an autoclave with a vacuum bag and cures it.
Thank you.
So it's like a vacuum seal that makes it squish to the mold.
Exactly, yeah. So we pressurize the autoclave and apply a vacuum to the internal of the bag, so it squishes the carbon fiber and removes as much resin as possible. So you have as much carbon fiber as little resin for maximum strength.
Okay.
So are the materials that you are autoclaving potentially hazardous?
Not beyond the average materials in a factory. It's just a non-flammable bag, and the carbon fiber is, I guess it would be hazardous if it was created, like if a dust was created or somehow. That's the only real risk. So in the autoclave, we industry standard is that there's.
You're going to have to, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
you're going to have
The
to,
industry standard.
don't lean toward it. Pull it to you, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The industry standard when they're in the autoclave is that they're treated as non-hazardous.
Other questions? All right, moving on to number 2. I have a question. I'm going to read this and then I have a question for staff. If additional information is needed, staff recommends the board continue the hearing and require the applicant to demonstrate compliance with these criteria and the criteria of Appendix A performance standards. The criteria you were talking about are the ones above it, Alex and Marla?
Those and all of the Appendix A standards that are applicable. So if you feel that you need more information than what they just gave you, then we can look at more of the Appendix A standards.
Okay. Does anyone think they need more information?
No.
I know you don't know what you don't know, but
Yeah, I guess I'm more concerned in the event of an upset or a non-compliant condition. Normal operating concern, I think it's addressed. I think there are concerns given there's a childcare facility and other commercial
right.
area there during an event. That is a concern of mine. So I guess I'm a little bit reserved the right to review some of those standards from a
I guess
health,
I would say-
safety,
yeah.
environmental compliance,
Say
just to make
the
sure
location
that
of this tank is approximately 400 feet from the childcare facility, so there is a risk there would be loud noise. The chance of that being directly next to the childcare facility at a
I'm sure for a bunch
dangerous
of children, it could be startling because unfortunately I've been
Thank you.
around
Yeah.
in my experience when those happen and it is noticeable.
So
And
Ted, are you saying that we should not close this tonight so that have an opportunity, you and anyone else can have an
I
opportunity.
think that's
makes
something
sense.
just to be, I understand, I see the nodding, I could see your concern about it and something you're aware of. So I think that's great. I think it's something we just want to make sure that we feel comfortable with.
Why do you need a child care facility and a manufacturing facility?
It's existing.
Already.
It's an adjacent.
Why are you building a manufacturing facility where there's a child care facility?
That was already being used for manufacturing previously in a
But
similar.
you're expanding it and you're putting in the autoclaves. Right?
It is allowed in the zoning.
I mean, I guess
That
what-
wasn't my question.
yeah, I would emphasize we're doing it because it's zoned as an industrial commercial park, and we're trying to maintain that use and live up to the use of that industrial park. I can't speak to why the childcare facility was put next to that use originally. So we're just trying to continue the use.
It's been there for a good 7 or 8 years, hasn't it? The childcare facility, yeah.
There for a while. And I guess to Ted's point, I think we would be happy to provide additional information. And I wonder if we get to this in as a condition of providing a safety plan or something of that nature, that we would be able to facilitate, close the hearing, and we could certainly provide you the information you're looking for.
Yeah, I think it's more, I want to know that there's the emergency preparation, the safety plan and everything focused on that gets it to a point of truly tries to minimize the impact
Understood.
of that. So I think any detail on that for me personally would be helpful to see.
I mean,
So
to be honest, we don't have an in-house expert to review that kind of stuff. So we would be, if you were to be submitting that as a condition of approval, we would have to engage a technical expert. The board would have to authorize technical review. There would be a cost associated with that. Ted is an expert in this stuff. And so your quicker, cleaner pathway may be a continuation so that you can present it to the board.
Can I ask a follow-up question to Ted's? The situation we're talking about, it's for the exterior storage tank of the nitrogen gas.
Yep.
And this is in the event, not a planned annual or something like that.
That's correct.
And the event that we're referring to is sort of an emergency release of the excess gas.
Correct.
And the event is releasing the excess gas with a louder, very loud sound.
It would be just an unmuffled release as opposed to the muffled
Do we
release.
know the decibel levels that release will be at, and how long it would be?
We haven't studied it for this size tank. The decibel levels are generally and directly adjacent to the tank. In previous experience with other nitrogen facilities in the area, about 105 decibels directly adjacent.
Okay.
So that probably decays somewhere to low 60s to like 55 at the property line.
Okay. And the duration?
I can't. It would be anywhere from like a few seconds to under a minute maximum. I can't speak to the distance to the daycare, so I don't know what that would decay to.
Okay.
I forgive me because my technical ignorance is basically unlimited.
Frank, bring your mic in.
But I'll let it go. All right. Never mind.
I think also we would like if you have some direction as to what exactly you're looking for, if it's not something that we can provide tonight, because if there's any testimony we can provide tonight that would satisfy your questions, we would love to try to address that right now.
I think my concern is emergency venting and noise of that. Is there a way to minimize to a level closer to where we're at of that?
Yeah.
If you would overfill the tank, if you would over that, what's your relief system? All those things from an industrial perspective, given this is industrial work in this area, would be information for me to review would be helpful.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I guess my question was, what potential, it's just making me a little nervous out of ignorance. What potential is there for something beyond noise? I mean, noise sounds very generically related to explosions, for example. So, are we talking? How do we know? And all, there's two parts. Is there something beyond noise that presents a risk? And secondly, what are we talking about? A statistical probability or a certainty over a certain period of time. And where's the risk assessment coming from? What experience? What's the, you know,
Sure.
I'm having a hard time framing the question, but I think you're getting the gist.
Alex, I would say that we contract currently with Han to supply our gases. They're a national supplier, so we don't have any concerns about the risk to people around. They maintain a thorough inspection protocol on the tanks themselves. The noise is an issue. Other facilities I'd worked at in previous jobs, we had muffled that because those tanks would sit unused, and so that would be a more frequent event. So we would muffle it accordingly, similar to how we'd muffled the autoclave. So I think that is something we can commit to doing on these tanks as well to mitigate the noise. The safety concerns, we are very confident that there are no safety concerns. It's an inert, harmless gas, makes up the majority of the air we breathe in. And there is multiple relief valves in cascading order of failure so that there will be no catastrophic failure. But there is a noise risk, and I think we can commit to muffling that to mitigate your concerns to.
Alex, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we operate an autoclave right now over in Williston, and we haven't had any sort of catastrophic failure. So we've got a year and a half of data right there. I think beyond that, I think we're going to have a hard time sort of figuring out what that like loose failure rate would be.
Yeah, I guess I'll say I'm sure you went through your safety protocols and your risk assessments that you would do from an engineering perspective. I'm finding nitrogen, Frank, to your concern, nitrogen is not a hazardous chemical risk. So from that aspect, and if it's relieved properly and designed properly, a catastrophic explosion of a tank is significantly reduced. My concern is the noise, and if that is a large volume, it could go for a period of time. And there are mitigation ways to minimize that risk.
105 decibels is your standard rock band.
Standard what, Frank?
Rock band.
So, and just so I'm clear coming out of this one, do you guys feel like there's any additional follow-up required here? It sounded like you might.
I think I would like you to look at that, how we want to proceed with that. I have no problem reviewing that for the board from my experience, and I think that would be sufficient just to see that, because I just like to see the relief structure and everything.
Sorry, just to clarify, would you just want a commitment that we work with the manufacturer to muffle that to minimize that risk?
That is what I'm trying from a board perspective. Yeah, from my engineering perspective, I would look at it completely different, just from my edification. But from the concern of the regulation, I would say that's my primary concern.
We can definitely commit to that. We have our manufacturer does offer that as part of the package, I believe, and if not, we can contract with them provide that muffling so that in the event of a discharge, we've minimized the noise. There will obviously still be noise, but it'll be significantly reduced.
And you're looking for information beyond what we've already testified, that there will be an industrial provided for this.
I guess I'm looking to the regulation on the decibel range. If you put a muffler on there to do that, is that something you would commit to as a condition on this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think if it were to be muffled and there were a release, we can commit to maintaining the noise at the property line.
Then maybe we can.
It would be the same muffler and manufacturer as on the autoclave, so we're confident that the performance would be similar or better.
I just think in the whole area, the whole system needs to be designed to this, not just what was inside the ever risk outside.
Just to clarify, we won't spec that out. We'll work with an expert to do that.
Yes.
We will just pay them to do so.
Okay. Adam, I'm going to be a nag. For some reason, I can hear Lucy fine, and I think the mics don't pick up men's voices as well. I'm going to ask you to pull that baby in and talk into it.
If there's anything you can do with the control panel to sharpen up the deeper voices, that would be great. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Sorry,
I don't
Adam.
think
We
I've
know
ever
you
been
don't
told I
mumble
have
in
a deep
person.
voice. So.
All right. Number 3, staff recommends that the board discuss whether the height of the proposed equipment is compatible visually with the subject building and the subject property, and consider whether the provided screening and placement is appropriate. You provided us with images, photos, and I assume board members, you've had a chance to look at those. Does anyone believe they are not compatible with the surrounding area and the property? Okay. No concerns.
Was that architectural drawing in the packet that was referenced
no.
here?
Isn't there
Okay.
a picture of one of
There's a
Well, there's
picture
a
of the
picture, but there's not.
fencing, not with a tank.
Yeah. So
Oh,
let me
okay.
open the architectural. I think that was just an error as we prepared this. What's the application number? 16.
Considering On Logic is across the street, I'm not too concerned about any height, so. And I think it's a fine building, I don't have any concerns with height. I would like to see the architecturals if they're available, but it is an industrial park, so.
So these are the architectural drawings to show how tall it is compared to the building. That's the nitrogen storage tank. It's about an extra third. And then this is one of the rooftop units. And then,
Marla, we did submit new plans today, and I'm not sure if.
yep, I do have those.
Okay.
Is this a revision from what you had before?
Just overall, we did make some updates, so I just want to make sure we're just looking at the most current version. Those did not change.
They look like silos. Yeah. Okay.
Are they going to be white?
What's the-
Silver, aren't they?
They're usually painted white.
Oh, wait, okay. Okay. Any questions or concerns?
Yeah, are we dealing with a height limitation here? What's the height of the towers?
They're below the height limit in this district.
Okay, that's end of the question.
Okay, moving on to number 4. Question is the proposal compliant with ADA? The LDR leaves compliance with the ADA requirements to the applicant. As such, staff recommends that the board direct the applicant to confirm their proposal is compliant with ADA requirements prior to closing the hearing.
Confirmed, and we did take the suggestions that are noted in blue and made some modifications to the site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Board, so this is documents that were provided today and we have not looked at them, just to let you know.
Okay.
If you want to make any decisions on that basis.
And we're happy to show you where on the site plan any changes happened.
Okay. So number 5 is a kind of similar vein. Are the mechanical tank and towers consistent with the pattern, rhythm, and architecture of the existing infrastructure?
Well, I don't see that as much of an issue.
As you said, or somebody said, it is an industrial park.
That's kind of the point, right?
Okay. Any going, gone? Okay. Okay.
I mean, that's pretty ugly, that item right there. You think it looks good?
It doesn't bother me, and I stare at.
I think there's a Latin phrase that deals with that. It starts with "get de gustibus," right?
Okay, number 6. We just want you to confirm that the lines serving the cabinets and all other lines are proposed to be located underground.
Confirmed.
Okay, thank you. Number 7, this is regarding the dumpster screening. The board should require the applicant to modify the plan to provide enclosure of screening of the permanent dumpsters.
Yeah, so we did modify our C2-01 to show screen fence around all of those dumpsters to
Okay,
comply with that.
thank you. Number 8, this is regarding long-term bicycle storage. All storage racks must meet the standards of blah, blah, blah. I wasn't sure why the word internal was crossed out.
Can we go back to the last one? Sorry, I just pulled up your revised plan and you say proposed screening fence typical. Can we get some more specificity on what that is?
Yeah, so in the original application, we did propose, we gave a typical that is similar to what's on the existing beta campus.
Okay.
So that should be included in the original package, and it's a sample. It will be similar in likeness to
What
that.
about height?
Height, 8 foot.
Thank you.
Number 8.
I may have missed 7. If I interrupted you while you were on 7. Okay, that was 7. Okay, thank you.
Long-term bicycle storage. You have 2 spaces.
I think we just missed a track changes. Internal was meant to be crossed out.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What is the question here? All storage racks must meet the standard of blah, blah. Staff considers that the applicant is required to supply long-term bicycle storage for a minimum of 2 parking spaces. Recommends the board require the applicant to modify the plans to include at least 2.
Yeah, we can confirm that that was complete on the plans that were submitted today on the architectural SD-1. Long-term bike rack storage is shown. It's in the waiting area. It's off of kind of an area called waiting area up in.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that is provided.
Questions, staff? Board? Number 9, staff considers the applicant's landscaping plans do not meet the above requirements and that you need to provide 1 additional shade tree.
Done. Added a Quercus bicolor in one of the plant islands that already exist.
Okay. Thank you. Questions? No? Number 10, we need you to update your plans to show snow storage.
That we can confirm is complete on sheet C-01, the overall existing conditions plan. You'll see that we have identified the existing snow storage area, and that snow storage area is proposed to remain for the continued operation of the site.
Okay. Thank you. 11, staff recommends the board ask the applicant to specify the soil depth for planting sites, around the parking area proposal to contain honey locust trees.
Confirmed. So that was added to L-01 landscape plan. Note number 5 was added to specify planting depth.
Okay. Thank you.
So board, I think that there's a specified planting soil depth in the DPW specifications. Is that what you used, or did you use something from your industry standard stuff?
We use an industry standard, and if it does need to be modified, we're happy to meet the DPW standard.
Okay, so we would do a condition that says subject to review and approval of the city arborist.
Okay. Number 12. For some reason, my notes with my pen didn't carry. For the vaporizer stacks and nitrogen storage tank and cooling tower, staff considers this criterion is not proposed to be met. Did you mean will not be met according to the proposal? Is that what that means?
Yes. Yeah.
Staff recommends the board discuss with the applicant how they propose to modify the plans to meet the criterion, noting that screening should not have a worse appearance than the structures themselves. Staff recommends the board consider whether surface treatments to the equipment might be a better alternative than fencing and landscaping.
So I've sort of arranged the screen to show both the red comment and the standard, but it's for utility cabinets and similar structures. There shall be sufficient landscaping or fencing of sufficient height and opacity to screen the facility year round from streets and abutting unaffiliated properties.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else, and even if they're still there, but some years ago, I remember driving between Boston and Cape Cod. There were some tanks. And they were beautifully decorated.
Yes.
I think like fencing and more stuff arbitrarily around the tanks doesn't make any sense. I think that's uglier than the tanks. But this stuff on the way to Cape Cod looked really nice.
You're talking about the tanks up by the JFK Library.
I don't know what's there. All I know is that's the road and here are the
Boston
tanks,
Gas,
and they look good.
Yeah.
They actually are kind of entertaining. Would you guys entertain something like that? I mean, hire
A muralist.
Well, and this was just color. This was like abstract expressionism, just colorful stuff. Can we impose that as a condition, or do we get to pick the artist?
We'll get Banksy.
I tend to agree with you, Frank. I mean, it's funny. We've looked at a lot of composites facilities recently, and the reason we're highlighting the autoclaves is because it's like this really cool piece of equipment that's fun to show off. And in a lot of ways, I think that tank and the vaporizer stack, it's sort of in front of that tank in that image. It's a fun piece of the whole story. So I would gladly get rid of the fence on that. I think it actually is a better look personally.
Where is this autoclave on this plan? If you could, so I could show it on the screen.
It's
The autoclaves are, yeah, right in,
Marla, these actually are not the current ones we sent today.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe Kelly, I hear Kelly's in back. Maybe the renderings would be helpful to.
I would just emphasize what Alex said. I think we view these as part of the critical process, and we would love the opportunity to show them off without screening.
The autoclaves are interior. To your question.
Quick question. So the current facility doesn't have any screening to effectively screen the facility year-round from the street and abutting unaffiliated properties, right? And this is an extension of that facility, and there's additional tanks on the outside. So the screening would have to be of the entire facility.
The tanks are completely new. There are no existing tanks.
No, I get
on the
that, right?
exterior
But
of
there's
the
also an
facility.
extension of the building as well.
Right, but you don't have to screen a building.
It says facility, right?
So, but this is under utility cabinets and similar structures.
Okay, that's fine. Is this something that we can modify, or do they actually have to provide?
I mean, the board has the authority to pretty broad authority to
Alright.
modify standards under site plan.
Is it a should or shall?
It's on the screen.
What's it say?
So the board's modification authority, as we've gone over a few times, is the minimum necessary to overcome conditions, specific conditions on the site. I wouldn't be mad if you decided that specific conditions were that the screening would, the cure would be worse than
Yes.
the.
I guess I'll say from my industrial experience, I think the tanks are fine from a presentation. The screening is distracting. It doesn't provide easy access for maintenance, other things out there.
Yeah.
I think they can be made attractive even more so. We've done industrial contests where you can put Beta's name on the tank. You can do other things to the tank to make it
Well,
attractive.
you can't put Beta's name on the tank,
Okay.
but.
Right.
we went there too, but had
Right,
that same
but anyway,
realization.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
stand corrected. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I think it is, this fencing is, I would say, from an industrial perspective, is not needed.
Okay, I would agree with
Ted,
that.
man.
Are we all good on that? Okay, good. Good. Moving on. Let's see how many.
I think there's just 3.
Okay, yeah, 4 more. Okay. Number 12, I'm going to read, or 13. Staff recommends that the board require the applicant to address the above comments by the stormwater superintendent and provide updated plans prior to closing the hearing.
Yeah, so our team did work with the stormwater superintendent, and we did receive communications yesterday on the 15th that they were satisfied and we'd sufficiently addressed those comments. So.
Okay, thank you. And we will need the number 14, the FAA's determination of no hazard before a zoning permit can be provided.
So for that one, a determination of no hazard was received for the site in 2012 for structures up to 39 feet in height. These structures are less than 39 feet in height, and we do feel that the criteria has been met. We submitted that document today with our documents that we submitted to the city, Alex and Marla.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 15, this is regarding parking lot lighting. The proposed line of lighting may exceed 1 foot candle. So there need to be some adjustments.
Yeah, so we did adjust the lighting plan, L3-01. I do think it's important to emphasize, though, that the fixtures that are near the property line that are being modeled are existing lights that are not going to be modified at all. The new lights are interior to the site and do not extend out to the property line. So we did model those for reference, and we have adjusted the heights. I think we had modeled them incorrectly initially, so that has been adjusted. And I did want to draw your attention to the new lights that are proposed are interior to the site.
Okay, thank you. Questions, board? Number 16, this is regarding plans for outdoor storage. Staff recommends that the board require updated plans that show the extent of the outdoor storage area prior to closing the hearing.
There's actually no need, there's no on-site storage of materials proposed for the project after construction.
Okay. And what do you know? That's it. I didn't think we'd get through it that quickly. So thank you for your efficiency. Before we turn it over to public comment. Let me see if the board has any other questions.
I think because there were some materials that were submitted today, and it would be great to have the opportunity to review those before we close the hearing would be my only comment.
Well,
It seemed like
and Ted's already said he wanted time to, okay. So, let's open it up for public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to make comments either here, online, or by telephone? Hearing none.
If I may,
Yes.
so I think that we would ideally, we've addressed all of the changes that happened in the plans. And if there was if the hearing was closed today and you felt you had appropriate information, I know that there is a period which you can review the materials. So they have been submitted and they are in the record. So I would just offer that there is an opportunity to review those, and we hope we have sufficiently addressed all of the questions and outlined the changes. I would just offer that as a potential option unless there are concerns. And if there are, potentially some guidance as to what we could focus on that you would want to discuss at a continued hearing.
Yeah, obviously that shifts we're going to shift the risk back to you there, right? If you want us to close without the opportunity of reviewing material that none of us have reviewed, right? You submitted it today. We all work, right? We can do that and then deny the application if we find it's incomplete, right? If we close today, or we continue it to next opportunity, right? And have opportunity to review materials that are presented to us.
But
at this
also,
meeting.
haven't you promised some additional material for Ted?
I think the request was the
Wanted more time.
Well, I think the commitment was to muffle the outdoor to the.
oh, you didn't
decibel
want to
level.
see the emergency plan?
I'm
You're satisfied with the muffler
I think
without
that's the
an emergency
direction I
plan?
go. But again, to Charlie's point, is we have other documents we need to review, and any additional information like that would be helpful.
We can close, right? But
Well, do you anticipate deliberating on this project tonight, or would
No.
you?
No.
I think there's another beta project after
We have a
this,
very
we
full
have a very
agenda tonight.
Long night.
Well, we can't deliberate on it because we're not closing it because we don't close hearings typically with documentation we receive the day
Right,
of.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what Charlie's saying.
It
So-
would be in your best interest if we don't close.
Right.
It's just too risky.
I guess my question is there a time constraint that you're working under, or is there a reason that you're advocating for closure tonight?
I think if the board recommends a continuance, we will accept that. But certainly time is always a consideration in these processes.
Sure.
I mean,
get that.
honestly, like we will take into consideration if there is a particular deadline that you're trying to meet somewhere else. Like those are all things that people can bring to the table that we do consider.
Yeah.
So not saying that we would close tonight, but I do want to make sure that we have all of the information that you want to provide to us
That's
about
a
that.
shifted risk back to you, right?
Right.
We're not taking that.
I don't know that it changes anything. I think we do live in Vermont, so we're up against a window here for getting approval, getting contractors lined up, and trying to get concrete in the ground. We have an
Sure.
autoclave that arrives November 1, and so the push is to try to get all that work in place so that when that autoclave does arrive, we're ready for it. So that's the reason
Right.
for us.
Can I ask a couple of questions about workforce availability, supply chain? Are you noting any delays with that currently that would impact, you have a quote or whatever now that you need to, move on in 14 days or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's sort of the normal construction environment post COVID where you're always up against this really unpredictable environment.
Yep.
We've got a war in Iran right now that's driving costs.
There's a few things going on in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing, that's affecting everyone. I think for us, for this particular project, we have the larger autoclave. The 50-foot autoclave is going to require a crew to come on site, build that autoclave, and then put it into place. So we've just got this crew that has a really long lead time that's planning on
Well,
being here.
let me ask, how soon could we?
We need a second because I don't know what happened at the end of Alex's day.
Oh,
Bear with us.
I'm going on vacation. Because I think it's next meeting, and then we have a week. We have a month.
Yeah. We're just checking our scheduling.
Alex, was your testimony that the it's November 1st, you're trying to get stuff done by? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, so coincidentally, both autoclaves, the 50-footer,
Yep.
Put the
which
one
is
next to
built
that.
sort of on site,
Yep.
wants to go into place on like first
Yep.
week in November, and then the smaller autoclave actually arrives that around the same week. So,
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have one tiny little spot available on the next hearing date.
At the next, that give us enough time?
Yes, it's a it's a 5 Tuesday month, so you're good.
Oh, and what
So that
date
would be
is that?
July 7th.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to continue PZSITE 2026-16 to July 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Jody. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay, we'll see you back here. Well, I won't, but they'll see you back here on July 7th.
Thank you for
Thank you.
providing all of those materials to us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Very efficient.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so the next project, let me read the blurb. Master Plan and Subdivision Sketch Plan, application PZ Sketch 2026-3 of Beta Technologies, Inc., to establish a master plan for a 100-acre area consisting of 3 development areas, including the previously approved Beta Master Plan area plus newly acquired properties in immediate proximity, dissolve 2 lots into 1 lot, and establish a new lot for future public right-of-way. So this is a sketch plan, but it's also an attempt, given the complexity of beta projects and probably the need to, under the previous way we've been doing it, for you to keep coming back for master plans, amendments, whatever. So it's really an attempt at this stage to approach this from what seems to me to be more of a conceptual point of view and focus on, I can't enlarge my screen. No, the type, scale, and range of development within the 3 development areas. So it's a little less detail oriented and more kind of concept oriented. Is the board kind of clear about that approach? And does anyone out of the gate have any concerns about this new approach? Okay.
I've been curious about this for the past couple of times that you've been here, so I'm really eager to get into it. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay. So do you have anything you'd like to say in the beginning?
First, I would like to say, sad to see you leaving, Dawn. You've been through a lot of this with us, so
Thank you.
yeah, sorry to see you
Not for
leaving.
me.
You're in good
I've
hands
loved
here,
it, but you know. it's tough.
yeah, yes, I can imagine. It'll
On
be
my
nice to have
Tuesday
your
nights.
Tuesday nights back. Yep. But thank you for all the work. I mean, you've been with us here since the beginning of this, and so really appreciate all the time and energy you put into it. So
It's been fun to watch it grow, and I'll continue to watch your success.
yep, thank you. Yeah. So we do have a totally new master plan to share with you guys. I don't know. Are we able to pull up the slide deck that we shared ahead of this? So we're going to do this in a sort of untraditional way where we have, you guys may have done this once or twice before, but we prepared a slide deck to go through just because this is such a departure from what you guys have seen in the past year for our master plan. So yeah, first and foremost, I just wanted to acknowledge that it is a complete departure. I know you guys a lot of y'all were involved in developing the original master plan with us. And so I want to reassure you that this is really not just like throwing out all of that hard work. The hard work that went into that master plan really set Beta up for a lot of success it sort of got us to where we are today. It took us from being an R&D company and gave us the chance to really think about how we could lean into manufacturing and how we could do that in a really cohesive way at the side of the airport. So it
We
was a huge,
even ended up on the front page with the governor making comments about the DRB.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but yes, yeah. Had our moment of fame there. So where we sit today is in a really different place from where we were when we originally came to you with that plan. We've got a much better understanding of our supply chain. We now understand that we don't have as much control over that supply chain as we'd like to have. So there's a real need to take a lot of that supply chain and try to bring it in house, and we'd like to do that here in Vermont. And so really, this campus is going to be our opportunity to do that. We're going to go from just assembling planes to assembling structures here, to building our motors here, to building batteries here. And so we want to develop a campus that's going to be able to support that over time. A big part of our decision to grow this campus here, it is really these relationships that we have here in Vermont. And so I wanted to make a nod to that. The community here in South Burlington really stepped up through this planning process. It's been great to work with staff to develop this new strategy. I think we were looking at multiple iterations to the master plan and just feeling like all of us were going to get worn down by that. And it was doing exactly the opposite of what it was intended to do. And I did also want to just make sort of a nod to the South Burlington Economic Development Plan that was recently adopted. It speaks a lot about creating growth opportunities for companies like Beta to be successful here. And it speaks to an innovation district at the south side of the airport, where companies that are going through R&D and trying to grow here in South Burlington can grow a community there. So we're really looking forward to deepening our roots here in Vermont, continuing to grow what we think will be a really nice connected campus, increasing those meaningful connections that we've seen in the small campus that we have right now at the south side of the airport, and really keeping our engineering tied to production, ensuring that we can continue to grow our employee pool around a campus that embodies Beta's commitment to the environment, aviation, and our Vermont families. So we can go to the next slide here. So I did just want to sort of give everyone the baseline from where we sit today. So this is the last master plan that you all saw. We have, since this was developed, we've built half of that large building in the center of the page, our production facility, we call it A-Build, and then the MXT building, which is up at the top there, and sort of everything else. We have, and as well as the parking and the roadway and a lot of the infrastructure that was required to not only bring those buildings online, but bring what would be some future phases of development online. We can go to the next slide. So what I wanted to show here was really just each number sort of represents a component that would have required us to come back in front of you with a master plan amendment. So number one was this parking area that we were considering early on in the summer. We still are considering it, actually. That would have been additive to the master plan area and would have required an amendment. We have B-build of our largest facility, as well as an expansion of our training hangar, which is on the top. B-build is the second phase of the manufacturing facility. Both of those would have required an amendment to the master plan because they changed in square footage. Number three is what we're planning to be a composite facility, where we actually took over a lot. It's a 4016, the current Pizza RV lot is what we call it. That would have required another iteration of the master plan or amendment to the master plan. And then we've just been acquiring properties around this property. So number four sort of represents that. Some of the properties that we've acquired across Williston Rd, on Palmer Court, and then of course Pizza RV as well. So not that all of these would have required individual amendments to the master plan, but they could have, depending on the timing. But it would have, again, required this coming back here for sort of every little change. We could keep going here. So this is the snapshot of our proposed master plan. So what we're proposing here is an adaptive campus master planning approach. We think it better reflects the realities of what is really a rapidly evolving technology company, effectively moving away from this project by project review of the master plan that I was speaking to. It shifts the master plan back to about what we believe it was intended to be, which is a long-term framework for the development of the area. And instead of fixing exact building locations and phasing, it defines development ranges by type, scale, intensity within each area, while still allowing the city to evaluate cumulative impacts on each development area. The key is that the infrastructure planning really remains fully defined and predictable throughout the process. Through the infrastructure implementation plan, we're aligning transportation, utilities, and other systems with the development ranges so that capacity is going to be delivered at the right time as the campus grows. And we feel like this approach is going to provide the city clarity and the ability to coordinate our development with the city requirements while giving Beta the flexibility it needs to responsibly grow over time here at this part of the airport. Let me go to the next slide. So really what we were doing when we thought about this, we tried to really base it in the purpose of the master plan. So section 15B of the LDRs. And so what I wanted to do is just go through these bullets. This is like the outline purpose of the master plan from the LDRs. That's what these bullets are. And so I wanted to just go through the next few slides and just sort of speak to how we're trying to address each one of these bullets and how we've tied them into this new approach for master planning with Chris's help. So go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been super excited about this too. I can tell you've been eager and patient waiting for this. And we've been working really closely with staff, and this is really innovative way of thinking about doing things. And and as you get through the staff comments, you'll really realize like how much thought the staff has even put into this. And they've been working with us hand in hand to help develop this. So just excited about that. Getting into a little more of the details, what we're trying to do is establish this framework. So what you can see up there is we have 3 development areas, and there's a few reasons they're broken up that way. The primary reason for development area 1, which is the blue area, is that primary focus is that has access to the airfield, which is really critical to Beta's business. Being able to get the aircraft, not only get the aircraft to their customers, but also the training facility and the maintenance of those aircraft all need to have access to the airfield. And coincidentally, that is the air district. So our line fits really well. The development area fits really well, and there's different development parameters within the air district. It's a 30-50 building to lot coverage ratio rather than a 50-70 in the IC district. So moving into development area 2, which is the red area, which is within the IC district, that is more focused on manufacturing parts and pieces that will get delivered to the assembly facility. And also there's a childcare facility, which you're well aware of. And there's also some proposed commercial buildings that we're looking to bring into that area. And then if you see development area number 3, that is also planned to support the overall campus with a variety of different support buildings across Williston Rd. We've been very busy doing a lot of different things. We're within the long-eared bat habitat zone, so our bat experts have been out in the field looking at different natural resources, but we're redelineating wetlands. We're having an archaeological team doing some review just to check all our bases and just really confirm before we really get into design, making sure that our non-buildable areas, regulated or not, are being protected. And we've already started that process. We're in the middle of it. There's a few more things we need to do that we have to wait later in the growing season. Actually, I think we can wrap up most of it this month to finalize all that. And we'll have this map completely ready for when we submit a master plan application to show all those areas where we know we can't build. And this is the part that I think is really exciting because as a civil engineer, this is the crux of my career. Like there's everything you can imagine as far as infrastructure that needs to be improved to facilitate this development. We're talking about traffic signals. We're talking about a new road to support the Grid Street network. We have a new pump station that we're working with the city very closely on that is owned by the city to work out a strategy to improve that. There's a new substation that we're considering, and what the plan here is not necessarily, we're not going to build all this stuff at once, but what the strategy is to make sure that when we go through this, we're going to be looking at the development and the gross square footage of each building and each area that we're anticipating, and we're going to start to understand triggers that would require some of this development to occur. So like as an example, we put in this composites facility and it generates this many trips, time to put in a signal. Or the wastewater system downstream needs to, we increase the amount of flow going to it. We need to improve that before our building comes online. Those kind of things we're thinking about up front, so we're prepared to even attack things in parallel while we're developing our campus. So it may be that we're building our building while we're improving a pump station. So we're trying to get ahead of everything and making sure that our campus is thought out and improving infrastructure as we need to. One other important aspect to our plans is civic space. We're really trying to come up with some strategies that fit. The challenge with civic space is that we may not know exactly where it wants to go at this master plan phase. We really want to dial that information in at site plan. What you're seeing on the screen here is we've established zones and areas where we think civic space would be able to go. But what we're really trying to come up with is some triggers that keeps like the framework of how our civic space grows consistent with how our buildings are growing. So as a building gets bigger, as we add more buildings, we need our civic space to follow in line with that. Because right now the requirement for civic space is 10% of buildable area. So at the end of all this, when this is all done, we have to have 10% of that space needs to be civic space. We need to make sure that our buildings are keeping up with that development. So we're going to come up with a strategy that showcases that the trigger points at which those civic spaces occur.
Interrupt for just a minute. Marla, would you help me out a little here? I'm sorry, I don't have command of the information. The civic space is intended to be a public space or simply a place for human beings to sit down and look at something green? I mean, what's a civic?
Yeah.
Civic space. Define it.
Yeah, I want to look closely because I'm not off the top of my head. I don't remember if all civic spaces have to be open to the public.
Well, let me ask the applicants. I mean, I'm looking at the areas for quote civic spaces. None of them seem to be designed for public access. I mean, this is private space, right? Is that right?
Yeah, our understanding was that there was no, at least our read through the regs, there was no requirement to make it public. I'm sure there's
some of the types have public requirements.
Yeah.
Some of them do not.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
So civic spaces have to be of a specific, you have to pick from a menu of options. And so some of the items on the menu are required to be open to the public and others are not.
So if their civic spaces are simply employee gathering spaces, that's okay.
Well, that may be a condition that you want to impose, that there is some variety in the things selected from the menu.
I think as long as there's no physical deeding to the city, because the land within some of these development areas are owned by the FAA, and it's you can't give land up within that area.
No,
so just making sure we don't go that, but making things available to the public.
I don't care about that. I'm not sure I care. Let me be clear. I just want coherence in what we're asking for, because it looks to me like you're just giving a nod to this term civic space as it appears in the regulations, and if it's not designed for the public, why does the city have an interest in it?
Civic spaces are a required part of master plans in order to ensure that to meet one of the city objectives of having interspersed green spaces throughout the city. It's from the city plan. I decided to end at that.
Anyways,
Okay.
moving on.
Yeah.
Never mind. We'll leave it there.
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, just to speak to the long-term project oversight, we took a lot of what we had already included in the original master plan that got approved. So just to sort of read the bullets here, we would be responsible, would be responsible for the initial phase of development. Future phases would sort of be determined by the ownership structure. If this were to, move over to the airport, if the airport ever took ownership of a component of the master plan, they would be responsible for that. But initially, Beta would be the owner. And then really what's a little bit different now is that there's a component of the master plan is owned fully by Beta. We purchased property across Williston Road, again, as well as on Palmer Court and Calkins Court. And so those would be fully owned and managed by Beta, and then the airport would be retaining ownership of the infrastructure that was on the airport parcel, similar to how we have it today.
For the acreage that you're encompassing within this projected master plan, you don't own all of it? Some of it's owned by the airport?
We have an 80-year lease. So I think it's like 76 years, but 76-year ground lease with the airport. And that's all of the land that was.
Is the airport a co-applicant with you on this?
Yes, they are. Yep. They're here. Yeah.
We have to be co-applicant through this, through Act 250, on any property we own. We're the property owner as shown on the application.
Yeah, and then this is the proposed subdivision plan. So it's really acknowledging a lot of the property that we've been able to add into the master plan in coordination with the airport, as well as some of these properties that we've acquired. So it's been really a benefit of acquiring some of these properties is it's allowed us to take this more holistic approach to the development. So getting some of those properties across Williston Road allows us to create this another connection point for vehicles. The properties on Gregory Drive are going to allow us to lean into some of the subscale manufacturing and stuff like that. So this is a reflection of the properties that we as Beta now control both through our ground leases and land acquisitions.
Wow, who would have ever thought? It's amazing. Thank you for that. That's helpful. Before we move through the rest of the questions, does anyone have any questions at this point?
In your let me figure out what the title is here. You have a document talking about master plan sketch. Can you talk a little bit about the Pete's RV parcel and your intention there?
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, I meant to speak to that in the last slide. So we are working with the airport right now. That is its own separate parcel. So if we want to develop that in the way that we've sort of conceived developing it for a composites facility, we'd have to work with the airport. It might be a land transfer. We're sort of working through those details, and we'd plan to have that full picture for you for the master plan hearing.
And just to clarify one other thing, this is acting as the sketch plan for the future subdivision, if there is one to happen. So we wouldn't come back for another sketch. That is the sketch plan for that.
And what I'm trying to get at is you're saying you're trying to dissolve that into the airport property, right? That's your intention.
We're in discussions with the airport about that.
So is that business going away or moving? Pete's RV?
Pete's RV, yeah, they were planning on moving. I think they're moving up to Milton. So
okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. Number 2. Trying to read my writing here. Board has blah, blah, blah. Staff recommends the board discuss whether they would be open to such a modification. If so, discuss what level of review might be necessary if land is added to the master plan.
So here, one of the requirements for master plan amendment is adding new land that was not included in the approved master plan. With staff support, the applicant is indicating that there's the potential for additional land to be part of their future planning. And so they're requesting potentially a modification of the standards to say that they can add up to basically a little non-geographic buffer of 10% of their 100 acres.
So
Do
you're
we
not
have-
done
do we have
acquiring
that
land?
dis-
Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah, there's a couple of properties like that you could sort of see here would fit pretty well into the master plan, and so we've acquired a lot of property this year, and I think there's a chance that we could acquire additional property, and so wanted to be able to have that buffer for us to not continue to have to come back if we were to buy a small parcel that was adjacent to the master plan.
And just to clarify, the proposal is for a 10% addition would not require an amendment to the master plan, but they could come in for an amendment to the master plan if there was a desire to add more than 10%.
Yeah.
And it's reasonable to come back for a master plan amendment every 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, before you go further, I'm sorry. I have to
wait.
disclose that I am an employee in a company that is in a building that is abutting to this project. So that's my disclosure.
Any concern that might bias your? No.
Well, wait a minute. I'm looking at what the staff has provided as a justification for this, and I just don't agree with it. I don't agree that making specific findings of the level of review and review processes required for subsequent applications filed under the master plan includes avoiding the definition of major amendment. This is not a level of review for an application under the master plan. It's simply avoiding an amendment that's required by the ordinance. I'm a flat no on this. As I read the regulation.
Yeah.
They're not asking for you to establish a level of review for subsequent applications under the master plan. Would you be coming in to amend the master plan by adding 10 acres? Would you?
So yeah, the thinking was that like if we were to acquire a small property adjacent to this master plan that didn't materially change how we were going to be developing this area, what we're hoping is that we could be given like a 10% buffer to be able to acquire that land as long as it's sort of
and not have to come and have it automatically included within the master plan.
I think I should do one clarification for everybody's sake, is that there's a major amendment, which would be what we're going through right now. We're going to have a sketch plan hearing, we're going to have a neighborhood meeting, and then we're going to go into master plan. Well, what the staff has suggested is that for minor changes that are under, like if there's a growth of 10%, or for what we've noticed on the last go around is our geothermal well field might grow a little bit and we have to move the line over a little bit. Does that really warrant a sketch plan, a neighborhood meeting, and then in this really drawn out timeline to do minor changes like that? So we're looking for an avenue that allows a little bit of flexibility to allow for those minor changes to occur without going through.
I don't think adding 10% more land is a minor change.
That would be the threshold. So you're saying like 9% would still be substantial to you for a major amendment.
How many acres are we talking about here?
So it's 100 acres right now?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. So they could add up to 9.99 acres potentially in one go.
I think they can come in and ask for an amendment to the master plan. and they come before the board to ask for the amendment to the master plan.
Right, so
As
right,
opposed to a minor amendment.
That's what's highlighted
Still
here, right?
see an
It's they're
amendment.
asking for that not to be a major
Yeah.
amendment.
We would
Currently defined in the LDR as a major amendment. So the options are to have it, if the board sees fit to allow this modification, is to consider it a minor amendment where they can go directly to the master plan. They don't have to have a neighborhood meeting. They don't have to do a sketch plan, or to have it not be an amendment at all and to have it just be rolled in as part of a subdivision plan, presumably.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to avoid is sort of what Chris was speaking to. Like the geothermal field is a great example of something that like makes sense to be in the master plan. There are like small parcels that are directly adjacent, and so we just don't want to like. I think what we're trying to avoid for all of us is just having a.
I think you can treat it as a minor amendment.
Yeah, and
Don't
that's one
think
of
you
the
can say,
options.
oh, it's okay, you have now 9 more acres, so what?
Yeah, my reading
Okay.
here is that you're basically asking for the flexibility that's not considered a major amendment, which I think we're coming to consensus as.
But
to.
you still have to apply, you still
Yeah.
have to make an application under the master plan.
Yeah, and that's one of the options that was outlined here. It was minor amendment or no amendment.
I,
So,
s-
yeah,
I still agree, right? If it goes from 100 acres to 110, and then you continue to acquire at some point, we
Right,
can't
it would
just,
be
you can't buy all
cumulative.
South Burlington without.
Yeah.
It would be cumulative.
for sure.
Yeah.
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 So why don't we say, maybe we should say cumulatively,
It does say that.
you know, cumulative additions up to 10 acres shall be considered minor amendments. Any cumulative addition in excess of 10 acres,
Okay.
even if it's only a half an acre, makes it a major amendment. You follow me?
Right, beyond the 10%.
Yeah, beyond the 10%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
that
it
makes
says.
sense.
Okay,
Yep.
I think we need to move on. Thank you for that discussion. Speaking of civic space, number 3, let me read it. Taking into consideration the comments of the Director of Public Works, staff recommends the board require the applicant to provide a more specific discussion of their decision-making criteria for private versus public infrastructure in the master plan stage of review. This kind of goes to what the point that Frank was making. So just give that some thought. Any comments? Okay, number 4. Based on the comments of the Director of Public Works, staff recommends the board direct the applicant to coordinate with DPW regarding provision of infrastructure needs in order to better understand the city's plans for improvements and provide a narrative description of how the proposed infrastructure work will be coordinated with city projects at the master plan stage of review. Again, keep that in mind. Comments? Okay. Number 5, we need more specifics for expectations around pedestrian infrastructure.
I think just to touch on it, obviously we'll be addressing that at master plan at the next application. But one thing that we were pondering was we have different styles of roads that go through the campus, and a lot of those are going to be consistent with the DPW standards, and those will require shared use paths, sidewalks, bike paths, all that stuff we're planning on incorporating to any road we add or any, and actually one thing that we're starting to think about is improving existing roads within the campus to add some of those things. So that's all part of our plans to portray it. We're coming up with a strategy to do that, and there'll be a framework that we're considering to make that known to you, so you can look at it and go, did you make these roads compatible with your master plan? And we can say, yes, we did. Here's what we promised we would do.
Can we bring up the circulation plan or where it shows the road and stuff like that? So I'm guessing, he's leaving. But you've talked with the airport a little bit about, uses such as like the FedEx and UPS drop-off locations, right? Or air drop-off, right? And the circulation from there to perhaps other places in Tech Park, right? And the use of this road and how that might be impacted, right? I'm just thinking if they leave that facility, they're probably not going to want to turn right onto Williston Road, left onto Kennedy, left onto oh, I lost track of the roads. Kimball, and then right onto Community Drive, right? They may become more interested in turning left onto Da Vinci and following this all the way through your campus, right? Is that something that you thought about and considered? How you've created an easier path for that transportation of materials?
Yeah, I think we understand that. Like Da Vinci is a public road as it sits today, and so you know, we feel like this is the better route for all traffic, both for us and the general public. So yeah, we understand that we'd be open to the general public being on these roads and are okay with that.
Because in my head, I see that 90-degree turn, or where Da Vinci turns onto, I think it's Eagle, right? Or just extending that through that parking lot so that traffic can just continue on to Da Vinci straight, right? Rather than coming down, turning left. And I understand Beta's master plan doesn't have to involve the airport. I've actually come to a better understanding of that, right? But it does have a little bit about, you know, continuation of infrastructure, right? Just an idea to think about, right?
So I don't know. I think that Aviation Ave, the terminal buildings there are an airport maintenance garage presently, which I know is going to be sunset in the next 10 years. The international terminal is there, and then there's some privately leased hangars. I'm looking at Larry for nodding. So there's not a ton of traffic that
We just approved a plan for the extension there for, I'm not going to call a specific company's name, right? But for offloading, I thought, right? Didn't you just extend the cargo apron? Yeah.
Can you come use the mic, Larry? Sorry, thanks.
Yeah, there you go. You did approve the cargo apron,
Yeah.
which is not in these locations here.
100%. What I'm talking about is the connectivity to that location where the cargo apron is, right? To potentially this new extension of the road that they're providing, because there are people who regularly drive between those locations. Was that considered with the airport, with this realignment of the road, right? The master plan, I understand, is specific to Beta property or Beta facilities, right? It's not all Beta property, right? But it is on the airport. So when we talk about overall connectivity and, you know, improvement to the public good, right?
Right. It's right. So you're talking about Aviation Avenue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're specifically asking what about Aviation Avenue?
Did you and the applicant have a discussion about connectivity between Da Vinci Drive and Airport Avenue?
So you're talking extending Da Vinci Drive straight west
across.
to it hits Aviation Ave and
To facilitate better traffic
Sorry,
movement.
are you talking about cutting off that corner? Maybe I was.
Wait, one at a time.
Okay,
Sorry.
wait. Okay. So you have Aviation Avenue that you drive up off Williston Road, okay? That keeps going up to Customs Drive, which is where our maintenance facility is, where FedEx is, where that
Where the cargo apron
is, right? At the end, or before you get to Heritage Flight or any of that development there, there's a right that's called Eagle Drive.
Yes.
Okay. Eagle Drive goes over to Pratt and Whitney and over to Da Vinci Drive.
Right.
Correct. So we've gone through all this with Beta way back when in the initial lease on how this would all work together. So
the only change here now is that Da Vinci will be able to go right to Green Tree, and Green Tree will be able to get to Community Drive. And there is a constant user that might be interested in that path, right?
But that's Da Vinci Drive across Williston Road. That doesn't impede anything on Aviation Avenue, which we utilize for that other stuff.
At master plan, though, we have to talk about connectivity between roadways and within the one lot, right? And this is one larger lot. And what I'm trying to get at is, did we have a discussion about the ease of access and how that could impact traffic?
I guess we have to add that to our discussion. But we've had, the airport doesn't really use Da Vinci Drive much for access. Okay.
Right.
So that's.
But you don't dictate to FedEx. You have to use Williston Road, Kennedy Drive, and Kimball.
No.
Okay.
But
I think I've drawn the line that you're talking about.
That's
right?
what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a pretty big grade change there that I think would make that pretty
And I'm
complicated.
not
Yeah.
saying you have to. I'm just saying it would be a huge benefit to the community, right? A huge benefit just to how vehicles move from the airport. A huge benefit, I think, to the airport from their lease standpoint, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's a worthwhile conversation. I think
Yeah,
we'll have that ahead of the
but-
master plan
But
hearing.
any activity we have on Aviation Avenue really wouldn't be impacted by that traffic light or that intersection because it would make
You
no
can't
sense.
control it, and that's what I'm saying,
No, can't
right?
control, correct,
But if
right.
you add that small change that we were just talking about, huge impact, right? The trucks now can just go directly to the industrial park rather than through all the different neighborhoods, right, to get over there.
Yeah,
Just pointing it out.
Okay, I think we need to keep them, the evening is still young. Okay, number 6, staff recommends the board discuss whether they have any questions about the applicant's proposal and whether they are comfortable with perimeters and lengths being finalized not at the master plan level, but at the time of individual application to construct each roadway. Okay. Thoughts?
So yeah, this is for the streets and the blocks.
Yes.
Right. Sorry. I was just gonna say I think we've been hearing that the specifics of the general strategies and stuff will kind of be forthcoming. So
yeah.
I guess I can just say I'm comfortable with this being an area that there's, kind of flexibility there. But I think we'll see more detail on this kind of at the next time we see you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that you will see more detail for sure. Whether we get the length down to
Right.
the foot, probably not, because you'll see a lot more detail when we come in and, for just as an example, show you Green Tree Drive and what that's going to look like. Like we'll have that dialed down, but at the master plan stage, we won't have all the details, but we'll have more detail than we have now.
Okay. Number 7, this is regarding civic space. Staff considers that the applicant's first statement already meets this submission requirement without the need for flexibility and recommends the board ask the applicant to clarify their request.
Yeah, we are totally, we agree with that statement that 10% of the buildable area will be civic space, and actually the rest of it is classified as commercial.
Okay, thank you. Questions, board? Nope. Okay. Number 8, read. Staff recommends the board ask the applicant to propose a concept for how civic space might be triggered as the master plan develops. Some relevant topics include: when should civic space for each development area be set aside? To what degree may they be modified? Staff would support a proposal that allows civic space to be fully modified, provided the required area and feasibility of the space is demonstrated at each modification. When should civic space be developed to meet the characteristics of a civic space type? Staff would support a proposal that allows either incremental development or development at some fraction of each buildable area being included in a site plan application.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It gets to what we were talking about earlier. So I think
Yes.
what you had talked about earlier is as the development plans become clear, there are going to be particular triggers for lots of different things. So it could be infrastructure. The way that I think about this is that civic space is a part of that. Like there's a trigger that's going to say, okay, we are now solid on where, at what the timeline is on a particular development area, which means we need to get solid on where the civic space is that we're going to set aside for that area. So if that's what we mean, and that's how I'm reading it, I'm comfortable with that. Just again, this is something we talked about a little while ago, but I am happy to hear clarifications if that's not how you're thinking about it.
Yeah, no, that is how we're thinking about it. I think we would appreciate the flexibility to be able, if that civic space needed to change for any phase of development, able to sort of reallocate that somewhere else within the master plan. But yeah, we're in alignment with the staff comment here. Yep.
Yeah. But then you have a graph in your presentation that shows like you're creating more physical space than it's needed, and then you're coming across and then building. Do you already have those, or is that just a fun graph?
The graph is supposed to illustrate that like the civic space is there, and
Yeah.
we want to tally that. So maybe we could build 2 buildings
Right.
while that one civic space
Yeah.
is in place, but we'll never be below it. We'll always be above it.
I think we can all get in agreement with that because that's kind of there's another civic space on the other side of the airport that they're doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
You have no idea how much we talked about that graph. So.
Well, I think that what I'm understanding then is that the proposal is rather than you have a 5-acre civic space and you build, a little bit of that 5 acres at a time, you're proposing to build a chunk
Yes.
and then draw down on that credit and then build another chunk
That's
somewhere
right.
else and draw down on that credit.
Yeah. I mean, we are trying to provide a cohesive campus here for our employees, and
it
so
would be the chunk in development 3 that allows more development in development 3. It's not the chunk in development 3 that allows development 1, right? Just want to.
it's a good question. We can speak to that.
All right.
I
in
think
master
I think we
plan, so.
can, to keep it simple, we could probably keep most of the development areas with their own civic space, but we would love the flexibility like that. If we could do something more grand in one development area that would be more impactful, that could support all 3, that would be awesome. But I think that's something that we should definitely.
I think a lot of the civic space types talk about being accessible within the immediately adjoining area.
Connected with pedestrian.
So I think if you do have a grand idea, it might be good to include that in your master plan and not have it come up later.
Yeah, and I think just to sort of feed off of what Chris was saying, like you could picture that thinner strip of land across Williston Road might be pretty well suited for a higher density of buildings, but being able to allocate some of that civic space to the center of campus, which is still just right across the road, and there'll be a crosswalk there. You'd still have that connection to that area. So,
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see, moving on. Number 9, staff supports. Let me go to the above text. They have proposed to provide with the master plan application and infrastructure implementation plan to identify improvements that will be constructed prior to or with each development project. Staff supports this proposal and recommends the board discuss whether they concur. I think it makes sense.
The only part the road, right, is going to be broken up how into the phasing plan, right? Is the road in the blue portion going to be, it's already constructed, right? But is the road in the yellow portion going to be constructed only when things in the yellow, right, development 3 phase, or is it going to be part of development 2?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
no, yeah, I think we will speak to some of those trigger points. That one is just coincidentally a major priority for us, but yes, we'll speak to those trigger points, and it won't necessarily be tied directly to that development area.
Yeah, in virtue of doing that, there's going to be a lot of need to improve traffic, and just even the traffic impact study will tell you that adding that road will make improvements to trips.
Well, we're
Yeah. So there's improvements that that will come out of that to improve level of service for side roads and such that the traffic impact study might tell us to do it. I think Beta's going to do it before it even tells us, but there is a trigger there.
So then if that's going to be earlier on, right, how does that trigger other requirements like civic spaces, right? If you're going to build the road and you're going to have to do things in development area 3, does that trigger the civic spaces in that area, right? Or does it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good one for us to address. That.
Yeah, so I think that would just
Yep.
be good to come back to and say like, okay, because this, like you're telling us, is a big priority for us. Tell us how you're going to meet the civic space stuff, because we know that you're going to be doing development where you might not want to have a centralized major hub of civic space.
Right.
Yeah.
Civic space or other requirements, right?
Yeah, and I do think like having the flexibility to be able to, relocate that civic space will help account for some of that. But yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, number 10 is regarding construction and staging areas. And the thought is that there should be a master plan condition so that each project within the master plan has a construction and staging area and a plan for discontinuation.
Yeah, we agree with that.
Okay.
I guess the only clarification would be like, it's part of the site plan application we're submitting. It's not a separate site plan application or zoning, it's just with it, and there's our staging area, and then a timeline for discontinuation of that. And then let's say another project comes in, we can always bring it back and leave it there, but bring it back up to date with the next site plan application.
Yeah, I think in the master plan, they're supposed to specifically talk about same thing with like scheduling, right? If you're going to stockpile material, let's say you do a blasting project, right? And you want to stockpile a bunch of ballast, right? From that, you just need to talk about when it's going to be reused. So it's not just a big pile of rocks for the next 10 years, right? That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
I think the master plan level, and then at the site plan, you can get more specific about it.
Okay, any other questions? No? Number 11, this is regarding the obligations of the master plan. Staff recommends the board include clear conditions that obligate any future entities to comply with the master plan commitments.
I'm sorry, can we go back to the construction staging areas for a second?
Sure.
This has been something that's been really challenging as staff to implement in terms of certificates of occupancy. So that if a staging area is part, the site plan says we will use this construction staging area as part of this project and it will be complete when this project is complete. And then we go out there and that construction staging area is still, gravel and there's still equipment. We can't issue a CO. And so having those things roll into each other has been a real challenge. So I guess that's something we need to have more discussion about, because I'm open to it being used for more than one project, but I'm not sure how to do COs.
Yeah.
So we'll have to contemplate that a bit.
Yeah, we should definitely coordinate on some solutions there. I think there is an avenue where we actually do a physical site plan for it, so it has its own separate CO, but that's just one idea I'm thinking out loud. Yeah.
I guess just I'll be really fast, I promise.
It's okay.
There is the phased site plan approach where you can get phased COs too, and maybe that's something we can play with, but let's talk before you submit your master plan.
Yep.
Okay, good. I've already commented on number 11 about the obligations of the master plan. Anyone have any comments about that? No. Okay. Number 12, I wasn't sure. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. On the third line down, it says, but recommends the board confirm that they are not requesting. Who is the they? Is the they the board or
No,
the applicant?
The applicant.
The applicant. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay. The applicant is not requesting modification of the standards of blah, blah, blah. Let me read this again. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this?
I mean, are you requesting a modification of the standards? I think that's ultimately what this is getting at, right?
Well, wait a minute. There were provisions that allow for buildings not to face the street, right? And I think the implication of what the staff is saying is that they are adequate to accommodate the needs of the applicant. Yeah. Is that right, Marla?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So, okay.
Yeah. So having looked at the standards, do you think that they work for what you're envisioning?
Yeah, we're not requesting a modification. We reviewed them today and we're totally on board with them.
Okay. Hang in there. Number 13, as alluded to above, staff recommends the board direct the applicant to provide additional parameters for the transition area adjacent to the LSN zoning district, low scale neighborhood, in the vicinity of Shunpike Road, Kalen's Way. Parameters could include those pertaining pertaining to screening, buffering, scale, layout, or use.
Yeah, we had a long conversation about this today, actually, like specifically related to that road that we're talking about adding along Green Tree Drive, and talked about continuing the screening that they have there right now, which is sort of this berm with some plantings on top of it, and felt like that's been successful based on what we've heard from the neighbors, and we would plan to just sort of continue that down to that extension of the road.
Questions, comments, board?
The parking garage for that area is not in that corner though. It's probably on the other side, right?
I would
I'm
say,
not okay. I'm not.
yeah,
Gonna,
I would say that's a little more of an example of what we haven't like fully vetted actually having a parking garage there, so I would just take that with a
was
grain
my
of salt.
concerns. If it's a 3-story,
Right next to a house, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. We've thought about that as well.
Let's
and
not
the
borrow
change in scale.
trouble. All right, number 14. Whoops, I lost it here. Okay. How do you propose to meet this criterion without providing a palette of design materials? How do you expect us to judge? I know we don't want to micromanage, but where's the happy medium for us to make sure that the project fits into the aesthetic vibe of the area?
My initial reaction to this was Beta has a pretty standard way of their buildings look. You can see in all their designs, but there's going to be situations where that may not be exactly what they want. So we were thinking, rather than like a fixed material palette, we'd propose like a principle based approach that talks about building massing and streetscape at the master plan level. But I think what we would rather do is probably provide some photos and images of what they're doing today, and just make sure that you can assess whether our buildings are in compliance with that. I think at each site plan application, you're always going to make sure that it's compliant with the adjacent uses. And we're going to, Beta is going to do the same. So if it doesn't get tackled here, we will give you a general sense of what we're proposing to do, but you're really going to make that determination at site plan, because it's going to be different across the entire campus.
you're not trying to vest into this is.
It's not something we're trying to vest into. Exactly right. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
Charles.
I think the palette was really well suited before we had started our development. I think there's now sort of a architectural theme in the area.
Yeah.
It came up as we were talking about Tech Park, right? I don't think that they have a palette, but you could look at On Logic and make some decisions about height and stuff like that. And so I think we would try to apply that same logic here through the site plan review process.
I can definitely buy like in development phase, area 1 and 2. Well, we're demolishing the buildings and we're going to be the major aesthetic in those areas, right? But as you get to development area 3, right, then you're starting to mix and match with other commercial properties. So maybe discuss what that might look like.
And I think that's where that, like, sort of moving away from these design materials and just being able to relate it to the local architecture starts to make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah, just one thing.
Sure, Mark, go ahead.
I think one thing to that issue is, all the times we've reviewed Beta projects in the past, it's always generally been right up at the airport. And we've said it's the airport, it's hidden, it's away from the public view for the most part, it's, quality, but it's sort of, we acknowledge the airport, aesthetics. I think as you come down the hill and get onto Williston Road and go into the other neighborhoods, yes, there's certain dynamic that's occurring, but I think the one thing is, you've addressed it, but I just want to reiterate that what I would be looking for is a sensitivity and a respect to being more towards the public front and the public view. That you're building a campus, you're building an identity, you have a brand, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to be looking for a whole bunch of airport buildings on Williston Road as you start to build out your campus. So having to be a little flexible in acknowledging your locale will be, important for us.
Yep.
Or me, at least, I'll say. So,
yeah.
Yep.
So how do we build that into standards specific to each type and phase of development? The generality of the language
Well, I think it'll come in the site plan. So I
I
think if they have
they've
principles
also
in the master
started to
plan,
address
yeah.
it in terms of locale and neighborhood and stuff like that. And I would just look for more narrative language that we would be looking to incorporate into the master plan.
Yep, that makes sense.
All right.
Okay. And look at these guys. They have good taste. Yeah.
Wasn't arguing it, just saying
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching them.
All right. Number 15, I'm sorry. Staff recommends the board direct the applicant to make a proposal as to the timing, evaluation of triggers of that connection relative to work at the next stage of review. So just keep that in mind. At the next, when we see you again, we'd like to know more about the stages and the trigger. Okay, 16. I'm having trouble calling this one up. Staff considers the board may need additional, there it is, information as to why the split lot is unavoidable, potentially to include a conceptual development plan in order to make an affirmative finding under this criterion, and recommends the board discuss. I assume that's for the next stage.
So the standard is that shall not create new split lots, except as necessary, except if the DRB finds such building lots are unavoidable due to pre-existing lot and infrastructure layout. So, no, this is not about Williston Road. This is about. Do you want to show the plan?
Yeah, if you want to show the plan, I think we could speak to this a little bit. So the pre-existing lot and existing infrastructure, we are in a really tight spot here at the airport and for what we want to do for building aircraft. So a lot of the advantage and the reason we've chosen to expand this site is because we can take big composite parts from up on the hill and ideally bring them through a building, assemble the structures, tack them all into what would be a plane and pack them with motors and batteries. And we need to be able to do that all here at the airport. And so in order to build a facility that can do all of that, that line, the line between the red and the blue there becomes a pretty major hindrance for trying to build out this industrial campus. And so that's why we are sort of spanning those two different zoning districts with this subdivision. So an example would be that, composites facility that's going to be up on that hill. It would be extremely hindered by having a line going through there, and we really couldn't build the facility that we need here at the airport.
Any other comments about this? And this is our last staff comment. Any questions in general? Now's the time to raise them. This is sketch.
Is this a true subdivision of that lot, or are we just talking there's just different?
There's,
I don't think we're, okay.
it is a true, I mean, it technically is a true subdivision because we're eliminating, we're
Sure.
proposing to eliminate a lot line if we can. And the reason for that is
Right.
for LDRs, you can't put a building through a lot line, and we need to have this connected to the infrastructure that the airport
But you're
supports.
but you're eliminating that. You're not. Okay.
Right.
All right.
But we're
Yeah, yeah.
creating what the comment is, you're creating a split lot. So they're technically right next door. That is a split lot. We created that back in 2022.
What is there interested in now?
Okay.
Dawn, I'm sorry. I have, I apologize. I'm having a side discussion with Mark about.
Speak up, Frank.
Would you explain to me the status of your property interest in Development Area 3 as it stands right now?
Our property interest, we own the property in Development Area 3. You'll see the little kind of.
Oh, you already own it.
Yes.
It's not
yeah.
you're gonna buy it. You own it.
Yes. Yeah. So we own.
That's it. That's the end of the question.
Cool.
How long have you owned it? Is this?
And
new?
sorry, I should add one. There's one property in there that we're under purchase and sale agreement on, so we're going to own it by the time we get to master plan. So
I'm sorry.
One little caveat.
Which property is that?
That's just to the left of Gregory Drive, so in the corner of
Okay, help
Gregory.
me out with colors here. Right.
Yeah. Sorry, in the yellow area on the corner, if you go to the right of the signal that's there, there's like no to the right. Just go right from there. Yep. Keep going right. Keep going right. Keep going right. There. Yep. So there's a parcel right there that we don't own right now.
All right, but it's not defined as a parcel. It's just sort of melded into everything
This,
else.
this isn't a parcel map. This is just a development area map.
Okay. So,
Oh, no, there's a building right there.
so,
Yeah.
so what you have is a purchase and sale agreement, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And is it contingent on approval of this master plan? Is that...
Yeah. The hope is that we've got all of those squared away by the time we come back for the master plan hearing. So we included them in this.
All right. And has the current owner joined in the application?
No, because by the time it becomes the master plan, they wouldn't own the property anymore.
Okay, that's something to pay attention to for when you apply for the master
Yeah.
plan.
Yes. Yeah.
Complete
Definitely.
that. If you complete that purchase, life will be easier.
Yeah, you're telling me. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Let's, before we conclude this sketch plan hearing, let's see if there's any public comment. Are there any members of the public here?
I have one thing to.
Sure, Larry, step up.
Sorry.
Introduce
Charlie,
yourself.
Larry Lackey, Airport. Charlie, what you were saying kind of just clicked with me. It's been a long day. Okay. So I would expect, I mean, obviously Beta is going to, before those items move forward with the traffic light or whatever traffic patterns, those would have to be evaluated by everybody. Yeah. So we would account for, like anybody shooting across onto Da Vinci or whatever. So thank you. And I apologize. Thank you.
I don't really consider you public because this is kind of. Yeah. Any other members of the public? Yes, sir. Step up, please, and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Brian Precourt. I own the building on the corner of Palmer Court and Williston Road, the building that steps into the hillside.
Okay.
The multi-tenant building. So I have a few concerns. The first one is the traffic that's going to be changed in the area. In the narrative that was distributed, Beta is saying that they're going to create a number of primary streets, Palmer Court being one of them. Palmer Court currently is a dead-end road servicing 5 buildings. The intersection is problematic. You can make a right out pretty easily, a left you can't. If this is going to be changed to through street, I believe Charles said the traffic pattern is going to change. People are going to be turning in there. I don't think anybody is going to be coming through trying to get out of that road. In their narrative, they talk about putting a signalized intersection at that new section with Green Hills, but there's nothing really talked about with Palmer Court if they are going to make that a primary drive, primary street. It's going to create problems for my tenants, more so now, if that change comes about. I think the traffic area in that, the traffic generation for this project is going to impact not only this, but a good chunk of Williston Road. When I read the narrative, it talks about they're doing the traffic study with, I forget the language, but it was interesting language as far as they aren't going to not present it as fixed values for specific traffic peak hour vehicle generation is not presented as fixed values as specific uses of the master plan stage may change. As a business owner, I'd love to be able to do that. I don't have that luxury. I own 4 buildings on the other side of Williston Road down by the interstate. It's in the traffic overlay district. I'm restricted heavily on what I can do with those buildings.
That actually changed. You're not anymore.
Really?
Yes. Please. I'd love to have a meeting.
No kidding.
No kidding.
I don't have a vehicle trip end budget anymore. None of us do.
Nope.
No kidding.
You should come to the DRB more often.
I got to tell you, the restrictions that placed on us was crazy.
Yeah, it's
On
been really, really
buildings-
challenging.
On buildings that have been there since the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It was ridiculous. So when I see something like this, and I knew what we used to have to go through, where I was counting vehicle trip ends very specifically, not in general terms. That's amazing, Marla.
So you can sleep tonight.
That is amazing, Marla. It
Can
really-
can I ask you a question about the problems that you anticipate for? I'm just looking at my map here, and I think I'm looking at the right building. What problems do you anticipate on Palmer Court with the traffic pattern change? Just I don't want to make assumptions. I want to make sure that I'm hearing.
Well, I think
your
the
specific-
words that what I've heard is they bought the Marcelino property at the very end. They are going to use that as a construction staging area. And so there's going to be a connection through there. So I think there's going to be more traffic coming through there trying to make turns out. Another section in here that wasn't discussed, and Charles brought it up, was there's nothing in here that talks about the construction of that development area 1. I believe there's a huge area that's going to have to be blasted, hundreds of thousands of cubic yards of product that they're going to have to process there. There should be some sort of definition of what this quarrying operation is going to be.
We will get to that in future.
I understand it's sketch plan, so
Yeah.
I'm just bringing up some concerns that I have.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
And there are other
Legitimate concern.
yes, because I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, sir?
Yeah, I believe what you're discussing was already applied and has been gone through a DRB process, and we're in deliberations about it currently, right?
So there is the approval that was for the blasting. I think that the master plan may be looking at potential additional or changed impacts over time. And I think Brian's point still stands that if, that is the development plan now, but if there's adjoining lands that want to be developed in the future, there may be additional rock removed.
We reviewed it, I think, 2 meetings ago or last meeting. Yeah.
I understand that, sir. One of the problems was, and I emailed Marla, was that as an adjoining property owner, I wasn't notified of that meeting. So I found out after the fact. The applicants, I sent that email to Marla, and the applicant had sent had my mailing address as the rental property that I have, 4050 Williston Road. My company, Precourt Investment Company, doesn't have an office there. So I was never notified of that meeting. So I couldn't put any testimony in. So I apologize, but I didn't know anything about that meeting. So I'm just trying to bring it up now because I think Pete's RV is being brought into play, and it's going to be much closer to our property, and it is going to create impacts for our tenants. So I'm hoping the board can put some conditions in there that I've done blasting and I know how annoying it is. I just hope there can be some conditions put into that. If it's already been decided, I don't know what to do.
We are keenly aware of the annoyance and inconvenience of blasting and drilling, and it's of late it's been a topic of conversation. So we do hold applicants to standards that the city has developed, and we will be monitoring that.
I have to tell you, the annoyance isn't in the drilling and the blasting. The blasting is done in a millisecond. Even the drilling is not that annoying. It's the processing of the stone. And if
Oh,
they
right.
are in tight confines, they have to control their blast, which generates a lot of cap rock, large rock at the top, which you also have to process on site. That is the stuff that annoys you.
Right.
The processing of the stone is what annoys
Breaking
you.
it up, that big machine.
Yes,
that,
the
yeah.
crushers, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That is what annoys the things. The
Sure.
blasting is
Isn't there any way to remove to take the processing off site? In other words, you have trucks there, you take off the big chunks and process them somewhere else. Is that not possible?
it's not cost effective usually, and the shot rock is not a usable resource most of the time until it's crushed. And especially the large cap rock, you have to crush it on site. No, that's what most people. If you look at O'Brien's, that's what they did on theirs. They
Yeah.
processed it on site.
So even you were saying for us to require removal of the product, for us to require processing off-site, assuming we even have that power, would be an unreasonable condition.
It's going to be really not very cost effective to deal with the product.
But discussion of phasing and how they actually process it and where they process
Right.
it.
I just think the board has to take that in consideration for the multi-tenants that are still around that construction site. And the traffic, I think, I don't have a problem with the existing buildings they're buying, mainly because I always thought it was crazy that the city dinged me on it with vehicle trip ends. Now that Mahler's cured that problem, I guess I don't
She's
have that
pretty.
problem.
She's pretty slick.
She's
Marla.
got to spread the word. That's the only thing. It's the new stuff that's going in. That's a huge impact on this. And
excuse me one more time.
I'm sorry, sir,
because I'm still struggling with the blasting stuff. Dawn is quite right. It is a topic of a lot of conversation. At least from my perspective, the conversation hasn't produced so far a lot of really good ideas for mitigation. So when you say you would like the board to take into account the problem in broad terms of blasting, do you have any specific ideas about what taking it into account would entail? Because I think not only we're discussing with that, I mean, Dawn is understating it. We're struggling with that.
I think there's sections of the site that are farthest away from the buildings, even if they're on the other side of the runway, that should be utilized for that, for the processing. There's nothing you can do really with the blasting or the shots.
No, I get that.
But
So
the processing can be done at far edges of the site where they're away from Williston Road.
So it's a variation of my taking it off-site. You're saying, well, you can't take it off-site, but you can move it to somewhere else on this particular site.
Yes, control where the processing is. Yeah, I think that would mitigate a lot of the impact.
Well, let me since I consider it an important issue, let me just ask the applicants now. Is that a feasible approach to dealing with your blasting issues?
To be honest, I actually don't know how much blasting would be required up on that hillside. So a lot of when we submitted our earthworks permit, a lot of that was happening next to our production facility, a lot of that rock processing. So it was sort of down in that gully and pretty well contained. And we just honestly haven't studied what I'm again calling the Pizza RV lot enough to say what would be required for that excavation and rock removal, if any.
So the specific suggestion is move it as far away from.
So they aren't talking about a 30-foot cut in that area?
On the Pizza RV lot, the cut that was in the earthworks permit was adjacent to the production facility.
And what was the cut on that?
That was about 30 feet, but we're not doing
30 feet in depth.
But we're not doing a cut like that on Pizza RV.
Okay.
I'm
sorry, I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You.
I'm sorry.
Frank.
So then the other thing that that you mentioned that the public has mentioned is moving it to closer to the air side. It's almost impossible to get anything over there because at the second you leave the face of our building, that's when it becomes an air space restriction and you're creating dust in the air, right? When aircraft are flying over you. So the farthest we really can get is kind of where we did it the last go around in 2021, which was kind of right near the building, near the existing building down in that quarry.
You can't, you're probably looking at shots that even if they don't have to do a 30-foot cut, you're looking at shots that probably drop anywhere from 10 to 15 feet. When they blast, they do not blast up top. They can't control it. So even if you need an 8-foot cut, they're down 10, 12 feet to control the shot.
So I'm hearing is maybe when we talk about phasing plan for development 2, if you need to do blasting removal, we discuss how we do that in conjunction with development 1 so that the processing is done for that ahead of time where you have area to do it and it doesn't have to be adjacent to neighboring buildings.
Yeah, I think I would recommend we review it at the site plan level. Yeah.
So if the board could look at Palmer's Court and the traffic that's being generated completely, I would appreciate it, and also the blasting.
I think we would ask the applicant to think about that.
I'm not supposed to talk to them. I'm supposed to talk
I
to
understand.
you. So I'm just talking to you.
I'm glad
At least for this meeting.
I'm glad you know the rules.
I used to be chairman of the Shelburne Planning Commission.
Oh, all
I know
right.
the rules.
Okay, so we can't pull the wool over your eyes. Mr. Precourt, is there anything else you'd like to offer?
No, thank you for hearing.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else have public comments? Okay. So, I would entertain a motion. We don't need to do that.
See you later.
I think I would have learned that by now. Okay, this is the end of the sketch.
Now you don't have to learn it.
And I don't have to learn it anyway. So thank you for your patience and your time, and we will see you back here whenever we see you back here.
Thank you for your many years of service, Tom.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
so much. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Dawn's gonna come when Beta comes.
Yeah, just
keep track.
I'll be the
You can be the public.
All right, thank you. Okay, it's been a long night and we still have another project. But I think it's a brief one. Okay. Site plan application, PZ. Are we numbering these differently now?
Yes, we've gone to the online permitting system and it was imposed upon us that we had to have names that made sense to other departments.
Okay.
And so they have become longer.
Okay, all right.
20 years to get to know the old system.
I know. I'm in the medical practice board and we just renamed all our things. So it's
you're
you
getting
know,
it from all sides
I
right
am.
now.
Site plan application PZ SITE 2026-14 of Crestanetti 2 LLC for after the fact approval to amend a previously approved plan for a 50,000 square foot commercial building with with umbrella approval for multiple number of uses. The amendment consists of designing a 4,500 square foot area as outdoor storage at 1889 and 1891 Williston Road. Who is here for the applicant, please? Hello?
Fernando, is your mic on? The light should be illuminated, not just blink. There you go.
Oh, sorry about that.
There we go.
And
Jesse Carswell, Krebs and Lansing Engineers.
okay, is there anyone else?
No.
Okay. Okay. Before we swear you in, does anyone have any disclosures or conflicts? Okay, good. I'm going to swear you in. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Okay. So I don't know how familiar you are with our process, but we look at the staff report and we go through the questions and ask for your responses.
Do you want to give them an opportunity to provide an introduction?
Yes. Would you like to say a few words before we dive into going through the staff report?
Sure. We're trying to get a permit for some storage containers and trailers and equipment for 4 of our tenants. They've currently been parking open trailers and enclosure trailers. And we came to find out that we needed a permit to do that. These containers are used for their business. We have an electrician that has 2 trailers. The Tree House, one of our tenants, he has a trailer where he stores woods. And we have another tenant, Circle Strings. They have a storage container, which they also store woods for the guitars manufacturing. And then Stone and Brown is a property management company, and they also have an enclosed trailer, 6x9, I think is the size, and they have an open trailer as well.
Okay, thank you. So, any questions before we start going through the specific staff comments, board?
Why are you here after the fact?
Well, I wasn't aware that we needed a permit. They've been parking there since they've been tenants, and it hasn't been an issue.
What made it an issue?
I think one of the tenants complained where she was parking and complained to Alex that she didn't have enough parking spaces to park her cars. But all of her business is after hours a fitness place. On the weekends, there's nobody else there. There's plenty of parking. And I think what happened, she got into an argument with one of the other tenants, and she came to talk to the city and find out what was the whether we needed a permit or not to have all those containers there.
Please speak up or bring the mic closer. Thank you.
Sure. So I got a call from Alex saying you need to get a permit, and I think we reacted fairly quickly. And
What are you going to do about tenant parking?
I'm sorry.
What are you going to do about tenant parking if this is permitted?
Well, so we're limiting the parking now. We're limiting the storage to the area that you're seeing on the map, on the site plan. So you can see there's plenty of parking for her now. I think she's fine. And I spoke to her. She doesn't have an issue with it. She got mad at this other tenant and wanted to just bring the issue up to zoning and make sure that we were in compliance.
So is it fair to say you're consolidating some outdoor storage that didn't have a permit into a contained location?
Correct.
And the parking was a secondary issue for the person who wrote into us. The primary issue was the trailers that weren't related to uses on the property, and that was fixed quickly.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. So, question number 1, is the storage adequate for all your tenants now?
Yes.
Okay. Questions, board?
You said you have 4 tenants currently, or 4 tenants that are using this storage.
Yes, we have 8 tenants.
Okay.
8.
And if, for example, one or more of the other tenants that aren't currently storing property there, if they wanted to, would that be accessible to them?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, number 2, we will, before we can approve your project, we will need the letter from the Agency of Natural Resources.
Okay.
You understand that?
I do. I think they did send an email indicating all the facts, but I think we can get a letter. Jesse, I will let you answer
Yes,
that.
could that be a condition of approval of this letter of determination?
I don't see why not.
I think the letter is in the packet, right, Alex?
We have a LOMA, but we just included an email from the River Corridor
No, it's not in the packet.
The Loma.
No, the letter.
There's not a letter from A&R.
There is a letter from A&R.
It was the letter is from FEMA.
No, there's an email. From A&R.
Yes.
So I guess my concern with allowing, and I'm going to try to open this kind of on the side while I'm talking. My concern with allowing the letter of determination from A&R to be a condition is I want to show you what, like the degree to which the A&R person was committing to it not being a river corridor. And if you think that this is close enough to a commitment that they are likely to provide a formal letter, then I don't have a problem with the condition, but I think that you should take a read and make that determination. I'm not trying to bias you.
I can't really read it, but thank you.
Well, how do we interpret that? Is it,
Wait, I'm sorry, one at a time, Frank?
how are we to interpret that?
So there's two questions being asked. We'll get back to the FEMA thing in a second. So the LDR requires lost it. Shoot. Letter of determination from A&R that the river corridor, I meant the wrong comment, something, stand by. Letter of determination from A&R indicating that the change to the river corridor delineation is justified. So a letter of determination is a term of art and an email is not a letter of determination. So that's the subtle difference here.
And what you were showing before, the highlighted text, I don't see a letter in our packet, and I'm wondering if I'm looking at the right.
No, this was not included in the packet.
Got it. Thank you.
But it was provided to staff.
And this is the email from A&R though. Okay.
Yes, correct.
So we are looking for a letter from A&R, correct?
Right. And so Jesse is asking if you would consider accepting a letter as a condition of approval.
And then there's a previous Loma from FEMA that changed the floodplain, the base flood elevation, and these are no longer within the base flood elevation.
Correct.
Okay.
And
I feel pretty good.
The letter is for the river corridor.
Correct.
And that's defined.
That's
slightly-
separate than the
Yeah.
floodplain.
But it has a significant impact on it.
The A&R is essentially saying in that email, there is no river corridor. But we do not have a formal letter of determination stating what is in that email.
Right. So, Jesse, just for your information in corresponding with A&R, we've had similar weird, like, misunderstandings. They actually wrote this or they approved this language before it was adopted in the LDR that they were going to be responsible for writing letters of determination. So I'm surprised that we continue to have this problem. When we have had this problem with AOT, for instance, they have said this email shall constitute a letter of determination as required in the LDR, and that was fine. So that might be one option for them if A&R says, we don't know what that means. That might be a way to do it.
But I think I'm fine conditioning it because FEMA has already, and the base flood elevation is a strong indicator of where the corridor would go. So.
Okay, thank you. The next comment, staff believes and asks if the board agrees, is this proposal consistent with the neighborhood infrastructure and vibe? Anyone disagree? Okay.
Maybe could you just speak to why you chose this location? Because Marla or Alex alluded to, it sounds like maybe the storage was scattered and you're consolidating it. So could you speak to kind of why this location was chosen on the lot?
Yes, for the two larger pieces of outdoor storage, the existing storage trailers they're going to remain where they currently are, and then above them, which I think is east on the plan, there was some of the work trailers that they're going to be relocated into this outdoor storage area. So keeping it here it's behind the building, so it's screened from Williston Road. It's also screened by vegetation to the south, and it puts it, further from the abutter to the east.
Great.
And it also, for snow plowing in the winter,
Mhm.
they come straight down to the back on both sides, so that the way we position it is eliminates any problem with snow plowing.
That's great. Thanks.
Okay, number 4, staff considers the location of the outdoor storage potentially impacts access to the loading dock and recommends the board ask the applicant how they will address this potential conflict.
It hasn't been an issue. We have this one loading dock for Ideas Well Done, one of our tenants, and they have received several pieces of equipment without an issue. They've been able to back into the loading dock.
So you don't see this as an issue, a conflict?
No.
Okay. Questions, board? Nope. All right, number 5. This is, do we really need to ask you to fence in the storage area? Staff recommends the board modify and decrease the requirements that would require the applicant to fence in the proposed outdoor storage area because it's already going to be hidden enough, is the point. Does anyone disagree with that? No. Okay. I think that's it. Let me just ask if there's any public comment.
I know.
Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to close site plan application PZ SITE 202614.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will be back in touch with you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have boy, it's cold in here. Has it gotten cold?
I wasn't here.
It's nice.
Okay, well,
Keeps you awake.
yes. Fortunately, we only have the minutes ahead.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Would, okay, do I hear I'm gonna say, okay, go ahead. Ted.
No, you have the honor.
I second, okay. Any discussion? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Abstain.
Any other business? The mass is over.
Thank you,
and-
Dawn.
Yeah. Thank you. The reign of terror has come.
All right, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.